Welcome back to another edition of Kansas City Experience. I'm Jacob Douglas. KCX is the monthly program that gives us a chance to highlight some segments from KCPT, Flyland, and 909 The Bridge that you may have missed. In 1994, Missouri high school teacher Rodney Wilson established October as LGBT History Month to coincide with the existing National Coming Out Day on October 11th. We share the story of how artist Joe Bustle's experience at one of the first AIDS hospices in Kansas City inspired his art series, The Apartment.
But I've heard so many stories about men that were so scared to let anybody know that they were sick, that they were dying in their apartments.
We share a father and daughter's sometimes rocky journey to acceptance after he comes out.
Whenever they told me about the wedding and we want you to walk Dad down the aisle, made me very happy. I was making up for all the damage that I felt I did during my teens because of how negative I had viewed the situation.
Also this month, we meet wildlife filmmaker Andrew Wegst, we learn about crop diversity in the Midwest, and we get a Bridge in-studio performance from Hembry.
Won't remember which car we drove. Won't remember the city or the roads. Forget the money's not real. Only remember how it feels.
We start things this month with a look at a documentary shot here in KC's historic Northeast that tells the inspiring story of Bobby Joe.
She is directly responsible for me being alive.
It became all about serving others, and it just keeps spreading.
It's one woman's testimony, Bobby Joe's testimony, how she went to the dark side with alcohol and addiction and ended up on the streets, and then was saved and dedicated the rest of her life to helping others with alcohol and addiction problems.
September 27th, I will have 24 years of sobriety.
The kernel of the idea, when Brent and I were looking for, we wanted a really authentic Kansas City story. We were looking for a film to make in our city, and we were looking for something really authentic. And Brent was fortunate enough to be invited to a meeting where Bobby Joe was speaking. And he came home fired up. And I mean, you know, my husband is fired up all the time, but he came home particularly fired up. We got together with Bobby Joe. We called her up and said, hey, will you meet with us? Would you consider meeting with us? And it just felt like the right thing to do.
So I took a hit off a crack pipe, and within 10 minutes, I was at the liquor store getting brown whiskey. And the next 8 years were hell.
Well, I started working at 12 years old, started hanging out with older people to fit in. I started drinking with them. And for the next 22 years, my life spiraled out of control. Like what Brett said, I ended up being homeless and human trafficked. And at one point was a wet brain living under a boxcar next to Golden Gate Liquor Store.
Now I knew I wanted to help women. There were 900 women going through treatment here in our city with less than 30 safe beds when they got out of treatment. I came into some stock when my mom died, but the stock market crashed. I was down at $50,000. So I called Edward Jones. I said, send me a check. And so I started driving around with a little notebook and writing down addresses and looking at places. I kept gravitating to this old nursing home on St. John.
And I finally got to go see this house, this old nursing home. And I went in and it was horrific.
She gets out, she goes in, and she said, this is the place.
I just knew it was it.
This is the first house of Healing House.
Guess what the asking price was? $50,000, the same amount I had coming in the mail in 2 days.
She said, Daryl, I bought a house. You gotta come see it. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna come by and see it. So we walked around, I looked at it. I'm like, dang, this house, it looked a wreck. I'm like, what do you see out of this? You know what I mean? And she said, oh, I see the vision. This is gonna be wonderful. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's the pink house, but it wasn't pink then. It was white. And it was really a shack.
He walked in and he said, I don't think so, sis. This is crazy.
And it is just went from there. People just keep coming. And now I get to live my purpose. I get to do, you know, even though enduring all those things that I did, I thank God for them because it's made me the person I am today. And no matter who comes to me for help, I get it because I've been there. And it allows me to help people in a much more personal way where they go, hey, this lady understands.
This is a movie about one woman that has affected thousands and thousands, and not just directly affected the thousands of people that have come through the Healing House, but their family members, their new community, how they're paying it forward. It is an absolute groundswell of positivity, hope, faith, love, all of that.
I would not be clean and sober today unless I started helping other people. And I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't be alive today without you guys.
There is hope out there. I think that's the big thing, is that people have got into this state of hopelessness, and there's something each and every one of us can do. I promise you that. But there's something that we all can contribute to this world, and we need it today. We all need hope.
This is my life. There's nothing else outside of here. God and you guys are my life. I live and breathe to serve you.
It's amazing to me that it took a small group of gay people and lesbians and LGBT community. At that time, the acronym was never. But anyway, but we were able to pull it together. And I think that spoke more about us as people than anything. I was living in Boston when the big New York Times paper came out saying there are gay men with this mysterious cancer. And there wasn't a test during that time. There wasn't anything. We knew nothing. I mean, it was just one of those situations where we really didn't know anything for a long time. I came back here in 83. My friends were talking about this Good Samaritan Project thing, where it was an education thing where you could go in, you could get fresh information, and it was being run by gay people, and it was kind of great. And just as I was going through my training, the executive director, she came by and she said, I can tell that you're really into this. And she said, well, we just opened up hospice. Would you be interested in volunteering there? It wasn't long, maybe a year of volunteering, that I quit my job and I was the assistant director. I've always been making art. At that time, I had a BFA in painting from KU and wanted to incorporate my experiences while I was working there. And I didn't know quite how I was going to really reconcile this, because I didn't want to be invasive, but I'd heard so many stories. While I was making this work, I was reading some older, actually it was in Time magazine, about men that were so scared to let anybody know that they were sick, that they were dying in their apartments. So I was taking that imagery, or the imagery I imagined from that, and the stories from the guys that were telling me, and I was making this amalgamation. Death was kind of, I wasn't scared of it anymore, because it's just a part of it. I mean, I had some residents that would fight all night long, chain stoking and doing the real typical kind of what you imagine in the movies, kind of dying. I mean, kind of lifting from the bed. And then I've had others that just went so peacefully and sweetly. I guess I don't talk about that part of it very much at all anymore, or maybe ever. And that seems so private, and I guess maybe that's part of it too. I've had a lot of years to separate myself from it. And I'm not saying there isn't a lot of sadness attached to all of that, But I think in some ways, I think being an artist and working and directly working through it as I was going through it, I think that helped.
When you're talking to somebody, it's not that you come out and everything's great. I don't think I ever really came out to my daughter. When I divorced, she was very small. She was probably 3 or 4. And so it wasn't anything that you can say to your child that your dad's gay. It was just, here's Lance.
Whenever I first met Lance, he seemed really nice and I was really impressed.
I had bought some chalk, and we had an asphalt driveway, and we were playing hopscotch and drawing pictures.
I asked Lance, how do you spell your name, so I could write it with my dad's inside a heart.
That really was touching to me because I knew what it meant, and I don't think she really ultimately knew what it meant, but that's what was in her mind. So to me, she understood our relationship at the simplest level.
We're living together here in this house. We stayed in the same bedroom, those types of things. So she saw those things, but we never really did talk about it.
And that worked really well, our relationship for maybe the first 5 years. And then after that, things started to change.
She kind of got into the religious mode where she kind of started going to the same church that her mom did. And it came up that, Dad, you're going to go to hell. And I'm really sad that you're going to go to hell, that I won't see you in heaven. And I think that was really hard.
It really wasn't me that was afraid of my dad's lifestyle. It was because I was going to church and those thoughts were being sort of syringed into my brain more than anything else.
Daryl and I wanted to get married once it was legal for us to get married.
Whenever they told me about the wedding and we want you to walk Dad down the aisle, it made me very happy that they wanted to include me in this. I was making up for all the damage that I felt I did during my teens because of how negative I had viewed the situation. I wanted them to know that I wasn't that person anymore. I wanted them to know that I was going to be very supportive of them. Experiencing it now, I again feel like it's not a big deal, just like whenever I was a little kid. To me, it's nothing different. It's nothing extraordinary. It's kind of like we're the Addams family. We might look different from the outside, but really we're just a big family.
Daryl and I both come back to this. It's about coming out and coming out at the right time in your life.
Everybody has to have that, it's either a breaking point or something that makes you decide that this is the time.
It's not something that everybody accepts. You have to be ready and expecting the potential of rejection from somebody, and that's not always easy.
So many times in your life, you're coming out to new neighbors. You move into a new neighborhood. You start a new job. Every time a new situation comes up, it's just, it goes on and on. It's like, I never am done coming out.
Yeah, you can, you just put like wildlife filmmaker or something like that. Hi, I'm Andrew Wex, and I'm a wildlife conservation filmmaker. So all the answers straight into the camera? You want my quick 3-minute story? I moved from Kansas City to San Francisco. I was just looking for a change, something new. And I fell sort of by luck, actually, into this organization, Wild Aid. In my role there, I'm responsible for producing their sort of major media projects. So anything from short PSAs with celebrities to much longer sort of full-length documentaries. Now, in fact, I just finished one up that's broadcasting in China on the Chinese version of Netflix. It's called Youku, and it's a series about sea turtles starring a Chinese actor named Eddie Peng. I kind of refer to him as the Chinese Tom Cruise. But he's super famous right now in China. It just debuted in December and it's doing really well. Honest to God, I had no idea I would be doing celebrity hosted wildlife films for 20 years. So. Sometimes this process can take a long time.
Next time on Nature.
For instance, the Hummingbird film that won a 2017 News and Doc Emmy for Best Cinematography, which was a big favorite on PBS. It was called Magic in the Air. We went to Peru to film the marvelous spatula tail, which is it's a little hummingbird about that big. We went to this one spot in Peru where there's one tree on the side of a hillside on a guy's farm, and we were there for 3 weeks, every day from 4 in the morning till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, staring at this one particular branch of one particular tree to film one particular bird for 3 weeks. That's why on an average episode of PBS Nature, it takes about 6 months for an average episode of PBS Nature to film. Most of those 6 months are spent by camera people in the wild, just staring at a particular hole in the ground or a particular bush, or they're waiting for a lion to wake up and go hunting, or an elephant to do something. I mean, it's really a lot of just waiting around. It's a great job to do if you're just like sitting alone in silence. A lot of people ask me, how do you shoot animals? How do you photograph animals well? And I always tell them the biggest thing you can do is be patient and be quiet. I think the key for my longevity in this business, my success as it were, is persistence and a willingness to do whatever comes up in front of you. To hear a lion roar live, like 10 feet away, or to hear an elephant, raise its tusk and live, something you'll never forget. And those are the moments that make it all worthwhile, where you have to, wake up in the morning and go to a bush market and you're filming dead and dying animals, and the next day you're filming animals, in their place where they exist and living their life. That's sort of the contrast, but you enjoy every second of it. I always love coming back to Kansas City because there's so many great people here, and it's such a great town, and the energy is so great, and everyone really shares, I think, a common dream to sort of elevate the scene here to another level. In my time here in Kansas City when I was growing up, and meeting all these filmmakers I still know today that still live here, those are priceless days of my life and my career. And I would gladly move back here in a second and give up my affordable apartment in San Francisco.
What happened to regional fruit and vegetable variety development? We talked to a few plant breeders about what plants and seeds thrive here in our Midwest region. This is Matthew and Nancy Cost, who started the Buffalo Seed Company to increase sustainability and diversity within the local food system.
Through the history of the United States, following the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, we lost a substantial amount of crop diversity as things began to centralize within the food system. A lot of those varieties in the Midwest have they're just gone.
The Midwest didn't archive as many native seeds compared to other regions in the United States. This is Keith Mueller, a horticulturist and plant breeder who focuses primarily on tomatoes.
A lot of vegetable varieties out there are what's called widely adapted. So the seed companies want to have something to sell throughout the United States. But we want to look at things that do better within a region.
These plant breeders are adapting seeds that will thrive natively in this environment.
We're in a civilization now where there's a lot of cultural diversity, and we see this as a strength. So we're seeing that this is a time where we can bring essentially native varieties from different parts of the world that match this climate, which native to the environment, so to speak, and potentially native to the cultural diversity within the country. As we kind of integrate that in, we see that this is the future of food.
So I work with wild species, and I'm trying to recover traits from them that have to do with the volatiles and the different pigments, the carotenoids. That all affects flavor. I'm really interested in developing better flavors. It's kind of bland, actually.
The way that we're breeding is not by us selecting things out of a population, but rather putting diversity on the landscape and then letting the land and the environment pull out what it wants out of that diversity.
You can really grow a lot of things. We grow watermelons, beans. As right now in the field, we have at least 24 varieties of beans.
They also grow varieties of okra, peanuts, corn, cotton, and more.
I never eat before a cowpea until we grew cowpeas, and we grew a lot of them. They just love it over here. The weather, the soil, they love the weather of Kansas City. And we're selling seeds. We don't sell that much of the cowpeas. It is tasty.
This year, they have over 120 varieties of crops with seeds from around 30 different countries.
What I'm doing is I'm breeding under organic conditions, and not a lot of that has been done in the past. Most of the tomato breeding has been done with commercial chemicals, fertilizers. The tomatoes themselves adapt to those systems over time. So I wanted to see what things do with less input. There's a trend starting to do that now with different vegetables, but mostly out in the coast. So very few people are doing it for the Midwest.
As far as just localizing everything, you eliminate what we generally would call exploitation. Not every part of the chain is getting what it should. The earth is not being respected like it should. The workers are not being respected like it should. And that's where that $2 instead of $3 tomato came from, right? Is that somebody else didn't get what they deserved out of it.
They are hoping government policy will change to benefit farmers who focus on diversity as it does with monoculture farmers.
I grew up mainly with grandparents, and they were always like, if you throw a seed on the ground or a food in the ground, they cry. I'm the one who mainly packs the seeds, and I send them as like I'm sending like a little kid. We really care about them, and we really make sure like they're well taken care, Also for the future generations, where they can have access to diversity, and probably they can learn how to cook it better than we do. How people can change their diet to more local ingredients. I think that's the biggest challenge to me.
How's it going, everybody? We are Hembry. So good to be here playing some music for you guys tonight. It's my dog, Beck.
I've been thinking when time ends that I'll look back on all I wanted and I'll embrace all that I wasn't. I've been hoping that you and I might end in a place where we feel wanted, never worried, never hunted. We could seal our past and restart now. You and I know we could never slow down. I would follow you through the century, and if we start side.